What is up, guys? Jarvis Gatlin here. And, guys, I never really plan on making videos like this. I have been really behind the scenes in digital marketing for a little over a decade now. And honestly, I liked it that way. But over the years, I have realized that a lot of business owners in particular do not see marketing through the right lens. And so, you guys are hiring agencies expecting them to turn a turd into a diamond. And, when it doesn't work, you get frustrated. And I get being frustrated when you don't have results. I totally understand. But I think a big reason that you guys are frustrated is because you don't even know how to evaluate what's going on. And that's why I'm doing this. I am not here to teach you how to run ads or do your own marketing. This is not a do it yourself style training. This is for business owners who really want to understand enough about marketing to have clarity, make better decisions, and hold the agencies that you hire accountable the right way. So I do have some notes that I've written here. So from time to time, I'm probably going to be checking my notes. I write things down a lot. It's just how my brain works, and it's hard to kind of pull everything in my brain out in the moment. So let's talk about the core problem. I think the reality is most business owners feel like they understand how marketing works at a high level, but feeling like you understand and really understanding are two different things. And I think in many cases, owners have a very you guys have a very elementary or caveman like understanding of how people buy things, right? So it's like I have a product, I have a service, I want to let people know they're going to buy from me, and then I'm going to ask for a review. And that's kind of the extent of how people buy for you guys. And believe it or not, in some markets the bar is so low that this actually works and you can become mildly successful. But in a tough competitive space, this is not going to be enough to thrive. And even in those less competitive spaces, there's a ceiling, right? And once you get to a point where growth stalls and you've got to get to another level, you have to know that what got you to that point is not going to get you to the next level that you're trying to get to. So I want you guys to kind of walk away from this video with really knowing how important it is for you as a business owner to have a deep understanding of how people buy things. Because if you don't find that important, then you're not going to put systems in place to understand what's happening at each stage. And when sales don't move, you're going to start blaming the wrong things and you're going to waste a lot of resources in the process. And that's why many of you guys, when you're hiring a marketing agency, it feels like you're at a slot machine in Vegas. You're looking for this agency to be your savior versus a true partner in growth, and it's just unrealistic and it's unfair. So I'm going to be hopping on here, sharing my thoughts, and hopefully it'll help someone. And if not, then it'll probably live in some dark corner in the internet or on YouTube or whatever, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, let's dive in. So at a high level, let's talk about how people buy, right? And we're going to keep it really simple. You have what happens before the purchase, which is awareness, interest, and consideration. You have what happens during the purchase, which is just simply selection, the buying process. And then what happens after the purchase, which is customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, and then brand advocacy, right? I will break these down further in future videos, but right now, I think that's enough. What happens before the purchase, what happens during the purchase, what happens after the purchase, right? And it's very important that you know each of these stages. A lot of business owners I've talked to have been through this cycle where they hire an agency, run some ads, traffic shows up, sales don't move, so they fire the agency, and then they repeat, right? And that's just kind of how things go. The problem is agencies get judged for results that aren't even in their control. Take SEO, search engine optimization, for example. Let's say your SEO, let's say your SEO agency gets you ranked number one, right? Job's done. But and specifically for the keywords that you want to be ranked for, that we've determined obviously are the high buyer intent keywords, right? So you're ranking number one in your area, number one, or let's just say top three, right? But what if search volume in your industry drops by 25% next year? Or what if Google changes the layout? They add more ads, AI overviews, and it pushes organic listings further down. They start messing with titles, and suddenly your traffic tanks year over year. Is that your SEO agency failing you, or is that the market shifting? Or on the other hand, let's look at Google Ads, right? You hire an agency to run Google Ads for you. Their click-through rates are actually above average for the industry. The ads are performing, traffic is coming in, but the sales don't move. That's not necessarily an ads problem. That's likely a conversion problem. And that's when you might need to hire a CRO expert or a UX person to come and fix your website or your funnel. But without clarity, what happens? You fire the ad agency, you bring on another one, and then another and another. And understand this, like even internally, we have to chat with our team about it because they're so committed to our client success. Sometimes they forget, right? Like there's nothing that you can do, right? Your click-through rates are above average. We've had our Google Ads specialists spend hours trying to figure out an issue, and how they can, how they can change what's going on in the Google Ads platform when the Google Ads weren't the issue. It was the site needed a makeover. The site, it was friction at the friction at the checkout stage where people were backing out of the checkout, right? So we have to make sure we assign blame to the right problem. But despite now I went through these two scenarios with you guys, but the reality is the stages, if you have systems in place for learning and understanding each stage of how people are buying, then you would never make this mistake, right? You would always be able to identify where the bottleneck is because you have made the distinctions between what each piece is supposed to be doing, right? And each piece of the system or each clog in the system is supposed to be doing, right? And that you as an owner, you're not necessarily supposed to be doing this work, right? But when it comes to evaluating what's going on and having higher level conversations, you can't do that without the systems in place because you're going to be blind. And you start bringing on one agency after another, and you're hoping that the next agency is going to magically fix your problem. That is not strategy, right? No wonder it feels like gambling for you. No wonder you're not confident when you're trying to hire an agency. So this is, for me, this is where systems come in, right? And when I say systems, I'm not talking about fancy software and some giant corporate process. It's not what I mean. I'm just talking about systems for learning at each stage, right? Systems that help you grow in understanding and that make sure no matter who you hire, right, you're walking away with more clarity than you had before. And once you understand how people buy things in general, and you get a system in place for that those basic stages, then you're going to begin to build understanding around how your people buy, your target avatar, your target audience buys, and not just how, but why. And this is where you can get way more creative in advertising. And this is where you start to have higher level conversations with with your marketing team and with your internal team. With this knowledge and the data to back it up, you're building something that will be very difficult to compete with. Like I said, even when a campaign doesn't hit, you can walk away with some sort of clarity that will make your next move a lot smarter. So you should always be gathering data and gathering information. And I know I've kind of been tough on the owners, the business owners here, but I want to be clear. This actually goes both ways. Yes, business owners, you guys have to understand your role, but I also believe that agencies need to raise the bar too. A real agency isn't just reporting on clicks and impressions. A real agency is helping you to see the bigger picture, right? It's helping you identify where the real problems are, even if that means saying, hey, ads isn't the issue. This is actually a conversion issue, or maybe there's a breakdown in the customer experience. or there's some friction when people are starting to add to the cart. That's partnership, and it's how you build marketing that lasts. Now, to be fair, don't hire an ads agency for $1,000 a month and expect that level of partnership and service. Be clear and have realistic expectations. But remember, you cannot have a Lamborghini with a Kia budget. It's just not fair. You wouldn't expect it. You wouldn't expect it from your client. You wouldn't want your clients to expect that from you. So don't expect that from your ads agency. But yes, we do as agencies need to raise the bar and look at the potential of becoming more like a partner that sees all of the pieces of marketing than just advertising agencies that are just running ads and talking traffic and conversions. There's a higher level conversation I believe that needs to be had, and so that's partly why I'll be doing these videos. So yeah, so the key takeaway here, guys, it shouldn't feel like a gamble to hire an agency. It only feels that way when you don't have the systems in place to learn and measure at every stage. And keep in mind, too, that if you do hire a marketing partner, the first 90 days shouldn't be about expecting miracles. You should be establishing benchmarks, setting up analytics, building systems for learning. Essentially, you are planting seeds before expecting fruit. And if you start thinking about it this way, and if you start approaching marketing as a system for growth and understanding instead of a slot machine, you're not only going to save yourself a lot of money and resources and time, you'll start making smarter decisions and more confident decisions at that. So that's what this series is about. I'll be breaking down each stage for you guys, showing you what matters and giving you tools to have better, higher level conversations about your marketing. Because honestly, guys, the goal is not just to get more customers, it is to create and build advocacy. And when you get that right, growth stops feeling like a night in Vegas and starts feeling inevitable. So that's all I got. I hope this was helpful in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And if it was, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.